All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, there's an old saying that you never know how someone truly feels about you until they don't need you anymore or you're not doing for them what you used to do for them. Why am I saying all this? Because in the aftermath of the latest update of the Colin Kaepernick versus the NFL narrative, the most surprising hot take that I've heard amongst the myriad of hot takes that have emerged is Mr. Shannon Sharpe, aka Mr. Woke Negro on Undisputed. And I've stated for a while now that Shannon, his temperature towards Kaepernick seems to have shifted over the last year or so. And I'm not quite sure why, but I suspect that it has something to do with the fact that Colin Kaepernick has pretty much cut him off from communications. For those of you who remember, the rise of the Colin Kaepernick martyr image basically coincided with the start of the show Undisputed on Fox Sports 1. And what Shannon Sharpe tried to do is hitch his wagon to Colin Kaepernick's star by acting as if he was his staunchest supporter and defender on national television. I've always stated that the only reason why he was doing that was to try to build up his notoriety in the media world, in the sports media world, and to gain subscribers and followers on the internet, particularly Instagram, Twitter, etc., because that's how that is done nowadays. Align yourself with someone or something controversial, and your subscribers will grow exponentially. Unfortunately for Shannon Sharpe, he's also a liberal/woke Negro. And like most liberal Negroes, they normally don't figure something out until it's way too late, which is why liberal Negroes don't make good leaders. Because to be a good leader, you have to have foresight and vision, and they don't have that. I've always said that I find Shannon, myself, just my own personal observation, to be a very intelligent brother. But he's also extremely emotional, which in and of itself is another key in grasping and understanding how little he can be taken seriously when he's trying to analyze serious issues, especially pertaining to race, because it's very clear that he has a lot of baggage that he's never truly unpacked when it comes to the racial issues or trauma that he may have experienced as a child growing up in Georgia back in the 70s or what have you. And that's something that is truly understandable. But I've always said when it comes to woke Negroes, they normally can be fit into one of four categories. You have the number one, the angry mulatto, or the angry and frustrated multiracial person who's just trying to figure out where they fit in. And until they figure out where they fit in, they're going to overdo it with a lot of the rhetoric about race and especially what black people need to do. And they try to act as if they're going to lead so-called black people. That's one of their favorite things to do. A multiracial person who has a lot of identity issues is stand in front of other blacks, normally full-blooded so-called black people, or predominantly so-called black people in their genetic structure or DNA or lineage, and tell them this is how you're supposed to feel, this is what you're supposed to do, while they themselves have a white parent. So therefore you never know where their true allegiances lie, but they try to act as if they're going to preside over so-called black people. The next demographic is the guilt-ridden former quote-unquote thug or degenerate, which normally is a person who spent the majority of their life, whether they're male or female, destroying their own community, robbing, selling drugs, killing people, maybe went to prison and got a dose of that quote-unquote incarceration wisdom, and now they want to act as if they're going to lead protests and things of that nature. It is what it is. If it helps them sleep better at night, that's fine. The third demographic is normally the Negro who feels guilt-ridden about something. Maybe it's about their infatuation with the so-called Caucasian woman. You'll find that many of these people who talk a hot one about race, they have a significant other who's not even so-called black. What the woke contingent has in common, no matter what their category is within wokeness, they all seek out Caucasian validation. And I will say that the last category or criteria for someone who's woke is the liberal black female playing the racialist angle. And as I've already explained in numerous videos, the black woman talks about race just to get attention for herself, and she wants people to think that she is as quote-unquote oppressed as the so-called black man is, even though she's not a threat to anyone. Never has been and never will be. But that brings us back to Kaepernick. Where's this storyline going to go? Why has Shannon turned against Cap? Is it because he's seen the light, or is it because Kaepernick is no longer speaking to him? Let's find out. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Colin Kaepernick's workout was scheduled to be at the Falcons facility on Saturday, but 30 minutes before the workout was set to begin, Kaepernick announced he would be conducting his own workout at a local Atlanta area high school instead. Kaepernick's agent said they changed the venue because of the unusual liability waiver the NFL asked.
Let me say this very quickly as well, because so many of the wokeities and pro-blackities and liberal blacks and liberal Caucasians and liberal Caucasian Jews are making a huge deal of this altered, quote-unquote, altered or revised NFL waiver. This is proof the NFL is trying to take away Colin's rights and blah, blah, blah. They're constantly trying to make this a matter of, quote-unquote, oppression. But notice, very few of these people are willing to show you exactly what the waiver stated as opposed to what the regular waiver states. All the revised waiver for Kaepernick states is that we're not going to give you any inroads to sue us. We're going to give you the opportunity to try out for the NFL's teams, but we're not going to allow you to come here, act like you tripped and fell on the football field, and then sue us for $5 million and claim the NFL had me work out on a field that was damaged on purpose to hurt me. Because they understand at this point that that is mostly what he's about. He's about attention mongering. And that's all he's about. He doesn't care whether he goes back to the NFL or not because he's receiving very healthy checks from Nike Incorporated, which in and of itself is the personification of the hypocrisy of the modern socialist / Marxist movement in America, because they're as capitalistic as one can get. And Colin Kaepernick is just a pawn for Nike, as well as for his girlfriend Ness Nitty, aka his handler. But, you know, just from a basic two-dimensional appraisal, once again, why would a revised waiver for Colin Kaepernick be a big deal? If you owned a corporation and you had an employee who decided they were going to leave your company and then sue you, if for some strange reason you decided that you wanted to do business with that person again, would you not have your lawyer craft a new contract that would protect you just in case this person tries something strange again? Why wouldn't you create a new waiver? What he did was unprecedented. He's never going to be treated like a regular player ever again. Whenever I hear the banter on social media or on YouTube or in some of these forums, it's just unbelievable to me how simple-minded people are.
Asked Colin to sign, and because the league would not allow media to attend the workout, Kaepernick threw for 45 minutes in front of reps from 8 NFL teams, and afterwards Cap said he has been ready to play for the past 3 years, and the ball is now in the league's court. So, Shannon, from all of this, what is your biggest takeaway?
I'm disappointed with how Cap handled the situation. I think everybody knows that's watched this show for the last 3 years, Skip. I've been one of Cap's biggest supporters.
Yes, you've been using Cap for 3 years to amplify your profile, especially amongst the wokety wokes. What's funny is that I haven't seen an update on Shannon Sharpe's Instagram since this segment, so I suspect that he's fearful that a lot of the wokety wokes are going to start coming against him in the comment section.
You and I talked about this, I believe, every single day for about 3 or 4 months. When everybody else touched on it at the beginning and left the subject alone, you and I talked about it. I talked to Cap. I knew how much he wanted to get back into the league. And
allegedly, you knew how much he wanted to get back into the league. And that's when you were with him the most. People forget, this cat Shannon Sharpe was willing to sacrifice his friendship with Ray Lewis over Colin Kaepernick because he was so caught up in the fervor and the energy of the quote-unquote Kaepernick movement and how much attention he was getting just basking in the light that was emanating from Kaepernick. That was the way in which Shannon Sharpe was moving about 2.5, 3 years ago. He was calling everybody a sellout and a coon who even dared to speak out against Kaepernick or give Kaepernick advice that would imply or intimate that he should consider conceding anything to the NFL whatsoever. When Mike Vick said maybe Kaepernick might want to consider cutting his hair, Shannon Sharpe said, "What? Why would you? What did that have to do with playing in the NFL?" All of that. Now suddenly his tune has changed. I wonder why.
Even coined the term. I said Cap has been whiteballed. That has not changed. But the way he handled this situation, Skip, now, he knew that he received this on a very short notice. Mm-hmm. He could have said, my representative have just given me word that the NFL has set up a workout for me. I will get back to you as soon as I know more details.
Shannon, that makes no sense whatsoever. How could he possibly receive an alert from the NFL prompting him to show up at a workout to possibly maybe get signed to a team, and he said that it's short notice when allegedly he trains 5 days a week at 5 a.m. every morning. He stays ready. That's what he himself said after the practice. So there's no such thing as short notice. Once again, the things that his followers are saying make no sense at all.
He jumped in head first. So you knew this was going to be on a Saturday. He turns around because what he did, Skip, he's in his camp and his supporters says the NFL wants to control the narrative. Well, the NFL says we damn sure not going to let you control the narrative.
Absolutely. But that's the mind process or the thought process, if we want to call it that. Because I'm not even quite sure if I'm willing to give Kaepernick's followers credit for having a mind of their own. But that's the thought process of people who have entitlement issues just like Kaepernick. They approach corporations as if we're on an even playing field. At least that's how they act on the internet. We know that in real life, those of the people who claim to support Kaepernick and who have jobs, they would never in their wildest dreams even think of doing what he did. They would never even consider going into their workplace and starting a protest on job hours when they're there to make money. And yet they'll tell Kaepernick to do that.
And he walked into a trap that they set. Because by him changing it, they see here.
Bullshit. He didn't walk into any damn trap. All he did was walk into what they promised him. A workout where there will be scouts from 25 teams. Yes, we've altered the waiver because your previous conduct has shown that you're looking for any way, shape, or form to demonize the NFL in public. So it is what it is. For cats out there who've ever been in the workplace or sought after another job, if a recruiter calls you and says they need you to interview tomorrow, you better be ready tomorrow. There's no such thing as short notice. If the recruiter says or the manager at the company says, can you be here by Friday at 1 p.m.? If you have plans that Friday at 1 p.m., you better drop them. Because if you want a job, here's your opportunity. That's how the real world works. Hello?
Diva. That's more trouble than what he's worth. Now, you had 25 was there. Because let me tell you what happens. And I'm going to put it in terms that people can understand. Skip, let's just say for the sake of argument, there's something going on. You don't really want to attend anyway.
Okay.
30 minutes before you're supposed to get there, you receive a call said, we're moving the venue. What you think you're going to do?
I'm good.
Thank you. And that's what...
And you know what? I've been good for a very long time on Kaepernick. I was good from the very start because I knew this dude was full of absolute shit. None of those gestures ever do a damn thing, especially when you have no end game whatsoever. But once again, it's amazing to me how all of a sudden Shannon Sharpe has done this 180. Could it just be that he's seen the light, or maybe it's... he's not receiving the monetary compensation that he may have been receiving from Kaepernick and or his people in the past. Who knows? Something for LeBron James to watch out for. Once you stop that payola, Shannon might just jump on TV and say, Michael Jordan's the greatest ever.
25 days. That's what 17 of the 25 that were there. They said, "No, we good."
Well, it's the drive. It's over an hour drive.
It's in a Flowery Branch.
Mm-hmm. North.
Colin Kaepernick keeps trying to convince people that he's Joe Montana in 1984 or some shit. It's like, dude, you're going to be a backup at best on any team that signs you. And of course, there are going to be some wokey-wokes in the crowd or on the internet who will claim that they're not giving Kaepernick a real chance to start. But you're never going to be a real starter in the NFL again. You're 33 years old. You were never accurate back when you were younger. So what are you now? You've been replaced by Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott and all the other quarterbacks who actually have their heads on straight. So it's too late for you. Just enjoy your martyrdom. Enjoy the fandom of low-level thinkers on the internet, wokey-wokes on social media, and your mind control handler Nesnitty, who tells you when you're allowed to go to the bathroom, when you're allowed to eat, when you're allowed to go outside, so on and so forth. And who probably also does all the tweeting and the Instagramming that you get credit for.
That's what north, way north.
And this high school
and this is south,
way
south. And I know people say, well, but if they came there, they could have saw him play. Riverdale is like the airport, like 15, 20 minutes away.
True.
But they didn't want to be there to begin with. So this was my thing is, Skip.
All of this stuff is nonsense and balderdash. We're living in the age of social media. If Kaepernick truly wanted to create a tape highlighting his prowess throwing the football, he could have done that a long time ago and submitted it to a series of websites. He could have made footage available for public consumption on social media and not just a highlight package. That's not what he's concerned with. He's concerned with making sure that he stays at the forefront of the minds of his chosen demographic, that being the downtrodden, and particularly the mentally downtrodden, those who've been taught to think at a very low level. He's here to push and promote cultural Marxism at the behest of Nike. That's it. The only thing that he has screwed up is that Jay-Z actually wanted him back into the NFL. Jay-Z wants to assist him based on the pretense from Kaepernick that he wants to be a quarterback in the league, because Jay-Z wants to wrap this narrative up. He wants to wrap this storyline up so he can get back to making real money with the NFL and eventually become an owner. So this notion that Jay-Z doesn't want to help him, that's nonsense. I've been covering that for about 2 or 3 months since the Jay-Z component was brought into this whole formula or situation, whatever you want to call it, equation. I stated in a video on my Patreon page that Jay-Z's job is to be the 007 of this situation, clean it all up. Kaepernick is a low-level operative, and he's starting to go rogue. You better watch it.
You wanted the media to be there, you could have just scheduled your own workout. You see, what Cap is trying to do is Cap is trying to appease an audience that has no role in him getting a job.
Absolutely. The same audience, by the way, that you took advantage of when you tried to align yourself with Kaepernick back in 2016. The same audience that has helped you become, if you don't have 1 million subscribers or followers on Instagram, you're just about there. You're almost there. You use that same audience that he's using right now.
You can showcase your talent for the media all you want to. You can try to appease your fan base all you want to, but they will play no role in you getting a job. Cap,
well, we know they're not going to play a role in him getting a job because most of them niggas don't have a job. Most of these guys on YouTube and social media, whatever platform it is, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, a lot of them niggas don't have no damn job. That's why their mentality is, yeah, Cap, hold out, fight against the oppressor. Don't let the NFL actually make you sign a contract. Who are they to make you sign contracts? You can do what you want. You Kaepernick.
Show up to a job interview with a Kunta Kinte shirt?
Shannon Sharpe, he was trying to show you that he's a fictional character just like Kunta Kinte. That's what he was trying to show you. Once again, Colin Kaepernick is a cartoon character. He's like a dude who learned about quote-unquote black history from a TV show or from a comic book or a newspaper article. He has no idea what he's doing or what he's talking about, but he's been thrust into this position as a cult leader. Very much, like Jim Jones, who I likened him to on another video that I made on this narrative. And he's probably going to end something like Jim Jones if he does not learn who to listen to.
You trying to antagonize? I get it. Cap keeping it real. Cap gonna keep it real and keep being unemployed.
Yep.
Because the people, and then he came out as like belligerent, like angry.
Not just belligerent and angry. He looked like he was about to have an emotional breakdown. He was surrounded by all of his fellow cult members, and he was not only about to cry, he was so angry that he was about to cry because he's so deep in that woke rabbit hole. And a lot of the people on social media and on the internet, they could look at him and see that he's not all there, but they're as deeply invested in his narrative as he is. So for them to jump ship on him right now, they're scared of being called sellouts. That's why it's interesting to me that Shannon Sharpe has finally decided to speak the truth. It tells me that there's something else going on behind the scenes between himself and Kaepernick.
Fam, 32 owners, Roger Goodell, stop running. Scouts, tell your bosses, Really? So you know what they saying? This is it. We good. Bro, I came out here. Those that saw me saw the way that I can still throw the football. I can still play at a very, very high level. All I want now, if anybody that's going to watch this video, hopefully the people that were in attendance, they can go back and tell their people to bring me in for a closer look. I have no problem. But to defiantly say, bro, when you...
Was it really defiantly, though? Or was it just part of him playing a role? He has to play that role, Shannon Sharpe. You guys, you truly have to grasp what's going on here. He's an asset. His job is to be an agent of chaos, aka an agent of change. Jay-Z wants him to be the pressure from below. That's why he wants him back in the NFL. He can be the pressure from below along with Eric Reed. Jay-Z be the pressure from above. And that's how they will force social change on the NFL and then thereafter through the NFL or from the NFL.
Dealing with men of wealth and power, they do not like to be told what to do.
Men, period, who have a ruling class mentality don't like to be told what to do, especially if they have enough experience and wisdom to know how things are supposed to go. Anybody who thinks that Kaepernick and the NFL owners or the NFL office are operating on an equal playing field, you're a damn fool. And the only reason why Kaepernick feels like he's empowered is because he knows that Nike has his back. Now, Nike and the NFL, they can go toe to toe. I've already stated that Colin Kaepernick is standing in for Nike interests. So this is really about the NFL versus Nike. That's why the NFL came out and said that Kaepernick wanted to have a film crew there on his own because Nike was filming a commercial. A lot of these other corporations are starting to understand exactly what this is about when it comes to Nike Incorporated and some of these other corporations who are trying to tear them down in an ideological way and force them to embrace more quote-unquote liberal standards so that thereafter Nike can make more money, especially overseas and through other demographics that they want to market through from some of these assets in the NFL, particularly Kaepernick and Odell Beckham.
And when normally, and through my experience, when you tell someone like that, do this or else, they'll always choose else. I thought there was a very, very small chance. I thought it was like on Saturn that he could get back. But this has moved way past Pluto. I don't see a scenario that Colin Kaepernick plays another down in the NFL.
I actually can see him back in the NFL. I mentioned this in the other video. He's like Jason Bourne. They're not going to stop until they bring him back in. Because let me say this, either he comes back in to report or I could see him getting removed, if you know what I mean. He's just far more trouble than he's worth if he's allowed to continue to be rogue like this. Nike is using him. So if other factions decide that, he's causing too much trouble, he's no longer as useful as he was back in 2016. And Ness Nitty signs off on it, allegedly. If she signs off on it in some way, shape, or form, I could definitely see his storyline coming to an end in a particular type of way.
Unfortunately, I agree with every point you just made. And I am sorry, but I am done defending Colin Kaepernick on this show.
Of course you are, because you can't defend him anymore. What else can you say? This is dragged out long enough.
I've heard from several people in and around the NFL who have fought for Colin to get back in. They're done. They're so disappointed, almost ashamed of how it played out on Saturday. And again, I echo what you said. For 3 years, I have fought for him on this show, and I still believe he had historical impact with his protests.
Steve?
No, not really. Because historical impact would mean that a law was passed or something like that, or even spoken about. He never even broached the topic or the possibility of having a law passed because he's not of order. A law being passed would mean that there was some element of order or structure there that was behind his methodology. There is none. Everything with him and the people who are associated with him is about chaos, and they're trying to hide the fact that they're very insecure about their multiracial backgrounds and their identity. So, this is why multiracial people cannot be leaders in or of the so-called black community. They just can't.
I still believe the call was worthy.
It was. The cause was worthy enough for him to risk his job. And now what little chance he had of getting a job back, he has lost.
I disagree. I think he still has a chance of getting a job. He's worth more to everyone involved as a quarterback in the NFL than as a rogue operative just, tweeting inconsistently and saying generalities that don't really have an impact. He's worth more if they bring him back in.
And it's pretty clear to me that Colin no longer wants to play football.
He never really has. He succumbed under the pressure of being a real leader. He could not handle real leadership, which meant accountability, which meant that you're going to have to work hard and actually inspire your teammates. He couldn't deal with that type of pressure. So he's fallen prey to the social media casting of him being a world changer or a world figure for quote unquote good, even though he will not interview. This is the first time that we've heard him speak in the last 3 years, and it was him rambling like some little girl who was about to cry because somebody took her doll.
Pretty clear that he's only interested in being a bigger and bigger martyr, and that's okay with me, but that's what that screamed to me on Saturday, is that he just wants people to feel sorrier and sorrier for him. And again, that there was a Dan Patrick report that Jay-Z was behind wanting, pushing for Colin to get a combine style showcase.
Right.
Of course he was. Jay-Z, once again, Jay-Z needs this storyline to go away. He has to find a way to reconnect with the wokeities on the internet. Jay-Z can't have this shit go past this season because, once again, he wants his artists to be able to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. And if he wants to do the same, they got to bring back in Colin.
Was it bogus? Was it really, was the NFL's heart in it? I don't know. We both were pretty leery of it.
Yes.
But still, we both agreed, okay, there's a slim chance that one representative will say, man, it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. We like the way he's handling himself.
Right.
This is a new Colin Kaepernick. Maybe we should think about this. And there's also...
Right, but Skip Bayless, what are you really saying? After a while, if you've been with a female long enough, you know her personality attributes or characteristics, you know yours. If you guys keep bickering and falling out, making up and falling out, you're never going to work. You're never going to be functional because there's just something that is intrinsic within the both of you that forces a clash. For Colin Kaepernick to capitulate to the NFL, that will cause a tidal wave, a complete shift in how he's perceived on social media. And he would never be able to recover from that. For the first time in his life, he feels like he's somebody. He's almost like the football version of Arthur Fleck. His whole life he thought was a tragedy. Now it's a comedy on the internet.
Rampant reports this morning that Jay-Z was very upset with the way Colin reacted and handled Saturday. Right. Because the NFL first off sent him a couple of days before the standard waiver that everybody signs to go to the combine right. or to any free agent workout on a Tuesday at any NFL right. facility. Mm-hmm. It's just standard boilerplate right. sort of waiver.
Right.
Okay.
Just
right, but they have added some verbiage into the waiver. But if you read the waiver, which I'm sure most people have not, there's nothing that's incendiary or demeaning to him at all whatsoever. It's just the NFL trying to protect themselves from lawsuits from someone who has sued them in the past. I mean, basically, once again, what he's done or what he did was unprecedented. Other people, other entities have brought lawsuits against the NFL, but for the way in which he did it, anyone with common sense or intelligence can understand why the NFL feels like they have to protect themselves and their 32 franchises. Because he's the type of person who will accuse them of racism for anything.
To protect the team, or in this case, the NFL.
Right.
No, they tore it up and sent back something that was outrageously unsignable for the NFL. And then it got down to, reportedly, Colin and his agents wanted their own film crew there. And the NFL said, okay, but then I read that Nike was planning to do a commercial. Maybe they still will do a commercial right. featuring a letter that Colin wrote when he was in 4th grade about, I want to play in the NFL. Well, this is another sympathy play, and it's fine.
But Nike...
No, Skip Bayless, is not fine. It's not fine at all. The NFL understands that Colin Kaepernick is trying to foster this image that he has by associating with them. People have been claiming that the NFL was trying to lure Colin Kaepernick into a trap with this workout. This was no more of a trap than a man who wants to marry a woman and tells her that she has to sign a prenuptial agreement first. All that man is doing is protecting himself against the possibility that this woman's going to turn on him. The NFL is doing the same thing. They don't have to marry Colin Kaepernick when they already see how his conduct is. They're giving him the opportunity, but they are not operating from equal playing fields, no pun intended.
But it's been reported that Nike wants the NFL to retract that because they said they weren't shooting a commercial.
Well, they did, but...
Of course, because they're operating in the shadows. And Nike would say something like that and try to go against the NFL sentiments. But they're the type of organization that would parse their words very carefully. They would say, no, we're not planning on filming a commercial. But it would really be, we're not planning on filming a commercial today because we're not the ones filming it. Colin and his crew are filming it. We're just going to make a commercial based on the footage that they film, stuff like that. That's how these mega corporations operate. They play games with words.
But again, they are saying that they were playing a commercial.
Right.
I think that was a fact.
Okay.
But whether they were going to shoot, they said we didn't have a crew there.
Right.
I don't know if Colin's crew was going to contribute to this. I don't know.
That's true.
So then they move it to the other venue, and one of the receivers I talked to was there, said it was down to, he counted 7 reps who made it from the 24 who were there originally up in Flowery Branch.
Flowery Branch.
Okay, and then we get down to the T-shirt. And again, we all know about Kunta Kinte and we know about Roots, but it's
Let's get Baylor say, we all know about Kunta Kinte, we know about Roots. I remember back in the 70s when it came out, I was a young man in my early 20s. I said, wow, niggers really have had it hard here. A lot of racism. Good Lord.
the wrong place and the wrong time, because you're just saying, I'm still a social justice crusader. I'm still fighting. And
no, actually what he was saying by wearing the Kunta Kinte t-shirt is that he's a fictional character just like Kunta Kinte. That's all he was saying. Alex Haley, for those of you who don't know, was an operative of naval intelligence. That's why he was allowed to write the book that was turned into a series called Roots. Once again, you should look this up. He was found to be guilty of plagiarizing a book called The African, written by a white man named Harold Corlander. So you have to ask yourself, why is it that Alex Haley, a so-called black man, was allowed to plagiarize another person's book called The African, quote unquote, have that book turned into a miniseries in the 1970s that, of course, got greenlit by the liberal Caucasian Jews who were running the networks at the time? What were the incentives that those TV executives had to greenlight a project like that they knew was going to foment a certain level of enmity between so-called blacks and so-called white people during the late 70s? Michael Jordan is on record as stating that after he watched Roots, he hated white people. He's on record as stating that. And me, myself, I have no problem with any type of historical series because the truth is the truth. But for it to be greenlit by the TV executives at that time, it was groundbreaking. No one had ever seen anything like that or expected anything like that. And the fact that it was fictionalized, and I'm sure they knew that it was fictionalized, but they still greenlit it, tells you that they had some level of cultural investment and once again trying to enforce the notion within the mind and within the subconscious mind of the so-called black man and woman that you're strictly from Africa. Don't even think about any level of nuance in your historical research. You're just an African.
you know and I know that these teams don't, this is what they don't want right now. They're going to say, we're not going to give our stage back to you if you're still wanting to fight for what you believe is right, which no one has a problem. You know, you do that.
Right.
You go do that on your own. But it's a job interview.
Right.
And that's not putting the foot forward that the NFL would want to see.
If it's just like if let's just say Herbert or Joe Burrow, they're having a workout. They open it up to the public. But if it chooses to be private, it's private. If I got released during the season, I go work.
I've already said this. I have no idea why people are claiming that the NFL is trying to set up Colin Kaepernick or that they're oppressing him in some way. He literally is the recipient of the first ever individual NFL combine. And that's supposed to be a sign of oppression. A person who, once again, I'm sure is getting a 7-figure annual check from Nike Incorporated and received a payout from the NFL already. But when you hear these people on television like Max Kellerman, oh, the NFL, they gave Colin Kaepernick a waiver that was altered to take away his rights. You notice they never specify what the rights are that he had taken away from him. They just use very open and broad terms so that what can be implied is that Kaepernick is not going to be able to do the same things that every other player is allowed to do once they join an NFL franchise, things of that nature. Once you have created a new precedent, you have to deal with new conditions. When and if Antonio Brown ever gets signed to another NFL team, his contract is going to say something different than most other wide receivers' contracts. His contract is going to say something different than a Julio Jones or a DeAndre Hopkins' contract is going to say, because he's a different level of character. He's a different type of person. Same thing with Kaepernick. Once again, you reap what you sow.
Gal, I can't say, well, y'all guys film me, but I want to film myself also. I can add, but here's my story in a nutshell, Skip. if you distrust the NFL so much, why the hell you want to get back in bed with him?
Ding. Hello. Shannon Sharpe, why has it taken you 3 years to figure this shit out when I've been saying this for the last 3 years? If Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid view the NFL to be so wicked and evil, why are you trying to get back in? If you don't trust them, you already got your money. You already have scores of wokey wokes on the internet who think that you're some type of Christ figure. Why are you trying to get back into the NFL unless the answer is you don't know what the hell you're doing? Maybe your handlers want you back in and there's something going on within your subconscious mind that you don't want to get back in. Or this is a long-winded narrative that's playing out that's going to end in a very strange way. Either way, I just don't see how Colin Kaepernick can be allowed to continue in the current station that he's in as someone who basically has no real controlling agent other than Nike. I just don't see these conditions being allowed to continue. Either he's going to have to be brought back into the fold or he's going to have to be removed. Period.
Forget everything else.
Yep.
They wronged you. Yes. Do I believe Colin Kaepernick could have played 3 years ago?
Yes.
Give it an opportunity? Sure.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you distrust them so much. Well, what if they cut and splice it and make me look bad? If you feel this way, why do you still want an opportunity to be in bed with them?
Thank you, sir. If you're dealing with a female and you're always worried about where she's going on Saturday night, stop talking to her, bro. Why would you stress yourself out with someone that you have no trust for, that you believe has no loyalty? Let the broad go. So many dudes end up locked up because they try to maintain a rapport or a relationship with a female that they don't trust. Let the broad go. Goodbye.
What I don't get, stop. Cap, bro, I love you. I believe the call, but you're not Kunta Kinte.
Thank you, sir. But he's trying to be. That's how he's trying to market himself. All of those t-shirts and those images, and I've stated this in other videos, notice it's always some pop culture black figure. He never shows that he has any in-depth knowledge or understanding of any substance in regards to black history. It's always a pop culture figure. Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Kunta Kinte. Nothing of depth. He's a cartoon character.
I understand, Roots. It was the Alex Haley autobiography about how he traced his past.
BS. It was the program that Alex Haley was commissioned with to write so that it could be turned into a miniseries and once again confirm within the minds of so-called black people that we strictly come from slaves and that we strictly come from the west coast of Africa. That's what that book was about. Once again, Alex Haley was an operative of naval intelligence. That's why he was dispatched to follow around Malcolm X. There's a lot to that issue, but that's a whole other video for another day. But like I've stated, don't take my word for it. Look it up. Roots was plagiarized from a book called The African that was written by a white man named Harold Corlander. Last name spelled C as in Charlie, O-U-R, L as in Larry, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, D as in David, E-R. Look it up yourself.
Past, and Kunta Kinte was a family member. Cap, you're not that.
Well, he was a slave.
Yes.
And he went
And we need to stop this notion.
Yep.
Skip said he went through hell. Believe me. We had a Negro work for us. Whew, we put him through shit. Anyway, let's go to the next topic.
You get to stop. And you show up at a job. What job interview? You going to work for Goldman Sachs, or you going to work for some prominent law firm. You going to show up at Fox Studios and you going to show up with that shirt?
Well, you know what's funny? According to Max Kellerman, he said that Colin Kaepernick should be able to show up to the workout dressed however he likes. Max Kellerman has 3 daughters. For those of you who don't know, Max Kellerman is a Caucasian Jew. Someone should ask Max Kellerman, when your 3 daughters come of age and they're trying to go out into the corporate world and get a job, if they choose to get a job as opposed to a career or start their own business, when they go out for their first job interview, are you going to allow them to wear a t-shirt that says fuck Hitler? Or are you going to tell them to dress in a professional manner so that they can get a job? Once again, so-called black people, liberal Caucasians tell you to do things that they themselves will not do. A lot of our people don't grasp this. There's a lot of dim-witted, pea-brain niggas on the internet talking about Max Kellerman is invited to the cookout. Max Kellerman does not want to come to your cookout. He doesn't eat pork. He's not going to eat your spare ribs and your pig feet and all that other shit that y'all be cooking at the cookout. His job is to be what he is, that being a super liberal Caucasian Jew. They're the ones who put the battery in the backs of a lot of you quote-unquote wokety wokes. And you have no idea that that is where a lot of your ideas come from. If you ask the average so-called pro-black person, because there's a difference between a real person who's for their race and a quote-unquote pro-black. That's why I call them pro-blackies, because they're phony as hell. If you ask them, what is your end game? I promise you they have no end game whatsoever. And it's because their super liberal Caucasian Jew forefathers have no end game for them. It's just a bunch of idealistic bullshit. They want you to do and think things that they themselves would not advocate their own children to do.
You want a job.
It's a good example, though. It's a job.
I get it. Yeah, but guess you know what? People at the barbecue, Cap ain't sell out. Cap ain't sell out.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, I get all that.
Yeah.
But he's in the same place. But what did he
Cap
accomplish?
ain't getting the job.
Yeah, well, what did he accomplish?
Damn, Shannon. This is just now becoming apparent to you? This has been the case for 3 years, brother, so I have to wonder, how has the relationship between you and Kaepernick changed in the last year or so? That all of a sudden you're so diametrically opposed to what he's doing.
Okay, you could have played it this way. You could have played...
And brothers, it just goes to show you that a lot of these guys, these talking heads on TV, they're playing characters. They're not giving their real assertions, their real observations. They're just leading you according to certain narratives. It's what's known as brand building, not just for themselves, but also for the lead character in the narrative, i.e. Kaepernick. Shannon Sharpe's job was to assist Kaepernick in building up his cult.
Played it straight. You could have showed up and you could have balled out, because I think he threw the ball very
Yes.
well. And you could have said and done all the right things that needed to get said at that
Thank you.
point. And then the ball goes right back in the NFL's court,
Right.
and it's like everybody's saying, and
Yeah.
now there's that's over.
When people ask me, say, Shannon, you're a 7th round draft pick and you made it in the NFL and you end up winning the Super Bowl and going to the Hall of Fame. So what? I said, I went to work every day, and I said I needed to give the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens one reason to keep me. All Cap, he could not give them a reason to say, hell no, go away.
Right, but we have to understand, he's an agent of chaos. Agents of chaos don't just bring anarchy into the lives of other people. They start by bringing chaos to their own life.
And he gave him 10.
He did.
Give him one reason. One. And Cap gave him numerous reasons. What is that? You see, I'm good. I just don't, Skip, if I don't trust you, I ain't got nothing for you. We can't do business together. We can't hang out.
Thank you, sir. You brothers out there, if and when you fall out with your woman, especially you younger cats out there, 19, 20, 21 years old, if you fall out with that woman, do not allow yourself to still be trying to correspond with her, communicate with her. Move forward to something or someone else, because you're stopping yourself from finding that next person that might be better for you when it's already been cemented that the previous person wasn't for you. If you guys have ideological differences, personality trait issues, move forward, move on. Like Shannon is saying here, once you see that you cannot trust someone, you can't be friends, you can't speak, you can't do none of that. Of course, be decent and respectable, but move forward with your life, man.
I'm good. You good? Okay, you cool. But if I don't trust is everything. Without that, I
Agreed.
don't care how great a woman looks. I don't care how much she has.
I knew the analogy was going to go to the woman.
If I don't trust you, I can't be with you.
Ding.
That's interesting about
So what are we doing here, Cap? You don't trust the NFL. You so defiant in your stance with the NFL. Yet, you could have said no. He could have easily said no to the NFL.
No, he couldn't say no, because had he said no, then the NFL would have publicized his denial of their invitation. So he would have started to lose the war of public opinion. And he can't have that. He's concerned about being a social media influencer. So he had to say yes. That's why they were frustrated, because the NFL The NFL basically put them in a very awkward position that they had to find a way out of, and they were unable to do so. That's why the NFL gave them 4 days. The NFL said, look, this dude is claiming that he's working out every day. He's working out 5 days a week at 5 a.m. We're going to give him 4 days. We'll give him 4 days. That's plenty of time for him to get his plane tickets, fly out to the location, and we'll make it happen. Kaepernick said, shit, what am I going to do now? I'm only working out twice every 2 weeks. I got a pot belly. My arm is still decent. What if they sign me and then I get on a team and I can't play? Oh my God. We have to find a location. That's what he was saying to his lawyer. But when some of them pro-black guys came in the room, he said, yeah, the NFL is trying to oppress us again. We got to figure out what we got to do about this shit. We have to free ourselves, liberate ourselves from this plantation known as the NFL.
Offer says I'm staging my own. But you know what? When he did that a couple of years ago, Skip, how many people showed up to watch him throw?
Mm-hmm. Bottom line, I still greatly appreciate and honor all he did for that cause.
Yes!
He didn't do shit for any cause. He has no idea what the hell he's doing. He's someone who's trying to be something. And what he's found is that is good enough that he has accepted who he is as a notable figure on the internet. That's all this is really about. Every couple of months, he'll go to some homeless shelter and pass out some book bags. He'll go to a school somewhere and try to influence or determine the mindset of these little black kids and tell them, be scared of all the cops around you. All that dumb shit. He has no idea what the hell he's doing. But this storyline is going to be wrapped up in one way or another. That's something that we can guarantee. But anyway, peace.